Welcome back to Four Sisters, where we will give you tips on self care, self awareness, self confidence, and show you all the ways you can love yourself. So get ready to laugh, cuss, cry, and pray. Welcome back, guys.
What it do?
How
Hi.
y'all doing?
I'm doing all right. Girl, I'm ready to, if you don't get out of here with that. Nah, for real, I'm doing marvelous. Blessed and highly favored.
I'm well.
All right.
My vacation was amazing.
Yes, child. Come through for vacays.
Listen,
Let me tell you
y'all
about
ain't
God.
had a vacay until y'all had a vacay after the vacay. If you know what I mean.
Okay.
Yes, I know what you
That
mean.
confused look on my face. I was like, what does that mean? Years of always taking my laptop
Oh, yeah.
for and coming back with a higher level of anxiety.
Okay,
Yeah,
and coming back and like just having nothing else to do, yo. Like it's like, oh, I just started all over again. Like it's my first day.
Came out vacation, started back at zero.
Let me tell you, I came back to a new office. I came back with benefits. I was like,
yeah, it's a blessing, honey. We can't go back. We elevating. We're elevating. How are you? I mean, I had no vacay, but I ain't gonna be too salty. But yeah, blessing. Last year I did have. I had a whole no, but but I mean, no, life has been great. Honestly, life has. Woo! We are out here looking out.
Okay, we are all at some very interesting points in life, and
it happened. Ooh, yeah. And the good thing is, it's emotional points and not financial. Like I'm still stuck somewhere, financially, but emotionally, I don't even understand where this level of happiness has been coming from. But I do know where it came from, and I like it. I like it. Yeah.
I'm here for it. I'm here for this happiness and growth.
So, on to rants, reasons, and resolutions this week. I have something that I feel has been nestled in my heart under my breast. And the reason that it has been nestled is because I don't normally talk about anything political on social media because I don't want nobody to respond. More importantly, I don't want anyone to respond with something I disagree with because then I'm going to have to block you, shut my page down, I have to report you as spam. I got to do a lot of stuff. So, to this point, I truly believe that if Trump supporters finished high school, we wouldn't have him as a president. Let's discuss. I truly feel as if they put as much effort into their education and higher learning that we wouldn't be in this predicament in this current moment.
You tapped on that table.
I did because I feel a word. And the word is that we have to teach our children young the importance of education, hygiene, dental as well, because some of y'all ain't got no teeth. But hygiene and the importance of understanding that there are three branches of government, understanding that there needs to be checks and balances, understanding, the Senate, the House. Schoolhouse rock. Right. Yeah. This is only a bill. Yeah. And I'm sitting on Capitol Hill. And I think the thing that we don't realize is that what is happening? That's the bill. Oh, and I'm sitting on Capitol. Oh, I thought you were saying it. I was like, girl. But I think the issue that I have is that now that we're having to suffer the consequences of people who are willfully ignorant or just ignorant, plain out, now we're having to suffer the consequences. And I'm like, if you would have just took the time to pick up a book, to finish high school, to brush your teeth, and we wouldn't have this issue. Thoughts?
You know what they need to do? Bring back after school special.
But they ain't going to school, so what's after school?
I'm saying the show. Remember the show? The after school special?
Yeah.
I learned a lot in that
Listen. But the way learning works is that you got to want to learn.
And if you're daddy,
we sat in them classrooms, and there's people who sat in the same classroom as me, and they can't tell me where Nebraska is on the map. And that's no shade to them. It's just like I was paying attention when we were looking at the map, and they weren't. And it's unfortunate because sometimes you need to know where Nebraska is, and so they out here making decisions based off of Stuff that they didn't even learn in school. It's sad.
And the thing about it is a lot of these people see Nebraska as the world. Like, Nebraska is the United States for them. Like, everything starts and ends in Nebraska or Idaho or Montana or wherever it is. And it's like, do you understand that there are people out here in this world that are not living the same life as you? We don't all live we all don't live on the farm. We all don't. We know what the difference between a consonant and a vowel is. Like, there are people in this world who truly don't see the world past their front steps.
That is true.
And
Also,
like, but how do you function in life?
Check this out, too. Also, there are a lot of people who learn everything from their mom and daddy. No shade to mamas and daddies.
Because they have no TV.
However, if your mom and daddy don't know nothing and they teach you everything, now everybody dumb. How we gonna work? How we gonna function?
Because the thing about it is, like, I like watching those funny interviews where they, like, interview Trump supporters because it's funny, but then it's like, are these real? Are they actors? And they be real life
they
people.
Are real life.
They will sign a consent because they are that smart. Like, they think they are so smart. And then when they get proven, like, you can prove how dumb you are, they still rock with it because they think it's right. And they just be like, well, you know, Obama was a Muslim and he tried to shut the Confederate down and let all his Muslim friends in, and they tried to kill everybody. And be like, oh, word?
What did it happen?
When that happened? Well, you know, I saw it on TV. And
what page was that in your history book?
Right. And it's just like that part of understanding that the foundation of everyone's life is education. I don't care if you don't care about education. I got a master's degree, and I hated reading. Literally, anybody can tell you I hated reading, but I read enough to get that master's. And I may not like reading, but I like to auditory. I listen to the news sometimes, or listen to, you know, current events. But if you are out here really living in your bubble with no education and nobody around you that knows no better, and no dental hygiene, keep throwing that out there. I don't understand how we have those type of people when this is a free society. There's free school all the way up to, I mean,
because ignorance breeds ignorance, which breeds ignorance, which breeds ignorance,
and now we got Trump because these people are out here breeding. And it's a whole vat of bred Trump supporters, and they just be out here, and they be right in their minds. They're right. And it's like the importance of that foundation and the importance of education is amazing to me because I didn't think I had an option when I was growing up. Like, my mama didn't tell me I had an option to drop out. She didn't tell me I didn't have an option to go to college. There was no option.
My only option is I can do what I want when I get out of her house and graduate and walk across the stage.
And I could even do that.
Just like that, in that order.
She still be in my business now. But the thing about it is, it confuses me, it baffles me, but it still doesn't shock me at the same time. Like, it confuses me because it's like we all had the same opportunities, but then I guess we didn't. I think at the same time we did.
It baffles me that there are so many of them. Like, because, you know, we all have come across one person who has said some stuff and you were like, yeah, where'd you find that? Tell me more. Because it's dumb. Yeah. But it's just baffling to know that there are so many of that type of people living amongst us every day.
Yeah. And those type of people did not pick up the books. They stopped at Cat in the Hat, and that was it. I mean, and I think about, like, some of the basics. Like, when you go to school, you learn, like, you know, math, and you learn science, and you learn geography and biology and all these other different things. And it's like, where were y'all at in the classroom when I was learning these things? But, you know, I will say this to end my rant. Thanks to y'all, we got Trump. So what's next?
I thought you were going to talk about the person who burned their house down trying to burn their Nikes.
I think that was fake.
Was it?
They said it was fake. It probably was true in some little form or fashion. Like, right now they have on Instagram, I saw this post on somebody's business where they were like, any employee that wears Nikes in our facility or whatever is going to be written up and sent home.
And I'm sure that's illegal.
Please let me know where that is because I will wear a pair of Nikes just so I can sue you. Right. I will wear a pair of Nikes just so I can literally take your facility and now it's going to be my facility. Like, please please give me the ability to go to this place and wear some damn Nikes. I just bought a pair of Nikes this morning just because. And I didn't need no more shoes.
Sure don't.
I don't know where they were mailed to, but I bought them. So, oh, you weren't here. Forgot half of my address. Just, I don't know. But what I do know is that it's like it baffles me, but then it doesn't shock me. It's one of those weird, it's like, I don't get it, but then I guess I do.
And you know what? Like, I don't even get mad at it. It more so makes me sad. Like, taking it off the petty note. Because, like, on a petty note, they dumb. But, like, real life, it's like, it's really sad that you...
Not at all, actually.
It's sad that they're really functioning in this parallel universe that's based off of fallacies, tall tales, and just whatever they could think up in their brain. It's sad. It's like we over here living in reality and facts, and they just out here.
It's not sad because that is their reality. Mm-hmm. This is our reality.
It is sad that that's their reality.
I don't feel like sad is a good feelings word. What I would say in that situation, because what I will say in this situation is that I'm not sad for anybody who chooses to not explore the world. If you only stay in Idaho and all you know is Idaho, then you gonna only know what your people have taught you in Idaho. If you don't want to cut the TV on and watch something other than Fox News, because everybody in your family watches Fox News, sometimes it's okay to turn on ABC and watch the world news. I mean, it's fine. But if you only do what you do because that's all you know and everything else is free, if you're paying for cable, you can get all the other news channels. You're choosing to do that. Therefore, I'm not sad. I feel like you deserve it, boo. That's why you ain't got no teeth.
Well, I'm sad because most of the time we have to suffer because those are going to be.
Oh, yeah, that's why I don't feel sad either.
Well, I feel
because they was out there voting for Trump.
I'm about to say, I feel sad for us.
Yeah, I feel sad for us.
We are reaping those same risks and benefits of them going out and doing it because we have just as many people. I guess for them, they're so confident in what Trump can offer them that they go out and they vote. Mm-hmm. For us, we're so distrustful to the government that we choose not to go out and vote. So it's almost like a lose-lose situation.
Yeah.
So they win every time because we're not voting.
And a lot of it's because he plays to the base. He says the most ignorant stuff, racist stuff, xenophobic stuff, homophobic stuff.
Yeah.
Just every phobic there is. And he knows that's going to make them like, yeah! And that's because they don't read.
But to them, that's what we did with Obama.
But you got to understand one thing. I think the issue with Obama is that when you're dumb and he starts talking, he talk right over your head. And he made them feel stupid. Because he couldn't understand the word. Trump uses the word bigly. They understand that. But when Obama was out here spitting real words, like, that are in dictionaries, who is this good-looking Negro out here with his tan suit on for Easter?
That's why they rallied up together in mutual unintelligence. Because they had enough.
Is that a word?
Yes.
It is now.
But, you know, like I said, I blame your parents and your dentists and your grandma, your papa. I blame your neighbors. I blame the guy that you knew at the corner store. I blame the farm animals. And I blame your sister and your brother.
All right, so moving forward in the episode, today we are done with you.
Not the animals.
Yeah, she is petty.
And the roaches on the ark.
Petunia.
Oh, God.
Petty Petunia
and
over
the geese
there.
that cross the street.
Hush.
But you know, one thing I will say is that, yes, these people are out here and they're being ignorant, but some of these people have jobs who are teaching our babies and who are just doing wrong by us because of
But see, they're voting for. See, there's two different types of people. There are people that vote for their best interest. They want the tax break. They want all the luxuries of their white privilege. But then there's the people who really are just ignorant and they don't know no better. Like there's that class change because Trump can't talk to these people up here because he knows I'm just gonna get y'all a tax break and y'all gonna be on my side because all y'all really care about is your own interest.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got these ignorant people down here that don't even realize they're voting against their own interests. Like the folks that got deported after they voted for Trump. He told y'all he was gonna deport you. The folks that was out here, the farmers or the coal miners, or all these people who voted for Trump and then lost everything they had, and they're like, I don't know what happened. You should have listened to him because he told you what he was gonna do. So for me, I don't feel bad for the people who vote for the interest because I mean, at the end of the day, most people do. But then at the same time, those ignorant people who are down here with their, mama uncles and daddy cousins, I just don't understand why they chose that decision.
You see how she can be saying something that has so much substance and then she can just squander it.
I didn't squander it.
With mama uncles?
And daddy cousins.
Mama uncles?
And daddy cousins.
Mama.
I don't see what the issue is.
Uncles.
Yeah, mama uncles.
Mama aunties?
Mama uncles.
Okay.
And daddy cousins.
I'm done.
Alright, so what is this episode? What are we doing?
Moving right along.
Well, there goes the end of my rant.
Thank you for our rant. Whew. And I guess your resolution is read a book?
Ain't no resolution. They're going to be ignorant for the rest of their lives.
All right.
My resolution is get some insurance. Fix your teeth. Go ahead.
Okay. That's all right. I'll take it.
Michaela's like, well, you know what? That's the best we can do. And that's what we're going to take.
I'm going to take it. Gonna take it.
Michaela's like, I don't know about the rest of you, but what's next?
We gotta get more mics because her mic needs to be shut off.
Cut it off.
You're unplugged.
We're gonna be like Queen
I
Radio.
told y'all not to judge me. That's why I wanted to surprise y'all. So y'all trying to talk me out of it.
My God.
We're gonna have to treat you like Nikki on Queen Radio. Cut his mic off. Cut it off.
You think Harriet Tubman was walking around here in dresses? Sabrina! Eating ice? No, eating rice?
All
right.
Fix it, God.
All right, guys. We're transitioning on over to Hayes Corner, but we have a special person sitting in the seat today. Miss Cici is going to give us some tips about how to navigate this 2018-2019 school year for a better outcome for our babies.
All right. Well, so I was thinking about school had started. I'm a mom, and I was just thinking about how, as parents, we struggle. We don't know what to do when it comes to our kids in school, all the way from like kindergarten all the way up. So I wanted to educate us a little bit more about some of the things that are happening statistically in our community. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to have an open conversation about it. So I'm going to read the statistics. I have 10 statistics, and I just want to have an open dialogue about it. All right, so number 1, it says African American students are less likely than white students to have access to college-ready courses. In fact, in 2011 and 2012, only 57% of Black students have access to a full range of math and science courses necessary for college readiness, compared to with 81% of Asian American students and 71% of white students.
That is very believable.
Yeah,
very.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so statistic number 2 says even when Black students do have access to honors or advanced placement courses, they are vastly underrepresented in these courses. Black and Latino students represent 38% of students in schools that offer AP courses, but only 29% of students enrolled in at least one AP course. Black and Latino students also have less access to gifted and talent education programs than white students. When I was reading that, I was just thinking about me in school, in high school, and I remember there was about 5 females, including myself, and we were all taking these AP classes, and I remember like either we were in those classes by ourselves or we were in the classes and it was only like 2 of us. So it's a real life deal. And I remember like some of my other friends, Like, they just be like, we rooting for you. You a smart girl. And I'm like, well, how can you, like, what are you doing? But it's not, my parents were like, you need to be taking these AP courses. You need to be doing these things to really educate yourself. And I don't know if that's happening in all.
And I'll be honest with you, I tried to drop. I went to my guidance counselor in my 11th grade year, or my 12th grade year, and I asked her if I could drop, because I was in Spanish 4 and advanced English something. And I asked her if I could drop it so I can go to shop, because all my friends was in shop.
Right.
And she looked at me for such a long period of time, like, you want to drop Spanish 4 and like advanced something English shop.
Right.
I was like, so what we doing? Like, you gonna write it down? Like, what we doing? Right. And she was just like, but why? I said, because all my friends are in shop. Like, I never took classes with my friends. I would see them on the bus, and I would see them back on the bus. But I never saw them during the day. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, and everybody, they were hyped. And I was just like, we'd leave lunch, and everybody went to shop. I was like, why can't I go to shop? Right. Like, and I hated that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was for my betterment.
Right.
And I got teeth.
And I will say that for me, I grew up, I went to high school in like a very like small rural area. And so our access to AP classes was like minimal. We had a handful of AP courses in the whole entire school. And then I remember like my senior year, I wanted to take AP Chem, and they were like, there's not even enough people that want to sign up for this class, so we're not even going to offer it. Mm-hmm. So not only was I like one of a few, well, it was probably a little bit more because my school was black, but there were only, even though the school was black, there were only a few black kids that were like in the honors courses and stuff, and then we didn't have that many anyway. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We had all the honors, but we didn't really have any AP classes. So,
well, I think as parents, if you've noticed that your children have an interest in something, like, make sure that you are really catering to that. Like, my daughter loves science, so I want to make sure that if that's the thing that she really likes, like, you're going to take these AP courses, because I want you to really open up your mind. A lot of times we have our kids in our classes and they're smart, but we keep them held back for whatever reason. And that's when all the other troubles start, because they're bored. So,
yeah, being challenged.
Yeah.
That's why I got a class clown. Go ahead.
Number 3, African American students are often located in schools with less qualified teachers with lower salaries, and novice teachers.
Mm-hmm. Look at Chicago.
And if you think
that's
about...
one of the biggest issues in Chicago and Baltimore.
Mm-hmm. If you think about, like, Teach for America Corps, they put all the Teach for America teachers in low-income schools.
Yeah. Yep. Mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Number 4, research has shown evidence of systematic bias in teacher expectations for African American students, and non-black teachers were found to have lower expectations of black students than black teachers. So this really stuck home for me, because it is so important that as a parent you be involved in your child's school. Like, you have to be involved, because if you're not, you're sending your kids to school who people who don't eat, they already counted you out. So you have to be. When my kids were in their elementary school, I was there all the time. They knew my face. I was calling them up. I was doing all sorts of stuff to let them know, like, hey, I know what's going on, and I don't see something right, because if not, I mean, that's why I know we have this law about, no child left behind, but it's just across the board. Teachers really don't have it out for our kids. Mm-hmm. And that's unfortunate. You should be an expert of your child, and you should know your child enough to know whether or not they are just being passed along or whatever the case may be, and they're not being pushed to do more. So it's really our job, our responsibility to be out there knowing what's going on in our students' lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just not an advocate for no child left behind. Because some children need to be left behind. They get further and further behind because you're passing them along.
Right. Little Timmy in the 12th grade.
Yeah, on first grade reading level.
Right.
So it's like, no. Some of these kids, they need to know what failure feels like.
Right.
I mean, our whole education system, as much as I advocate for education and public education at that, there definitely needs to be some reform just because there's so many different learning styles and different things like that. And to put all kids at the same rate is a little, that's asking for problems, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Because they say that, well, at least in Wake County, I don't know about any other county, that a majority of the class, so half of the class is below, a third of the class is like below average. A third of the class is above average, and then 1/3 of the class is like right there on it. But so what happens is you end up catering to the people who get it and are superseding that. But then those 5 or 6 little gaggle of kids who don't get it and are maybe scared to raise their hand or or rather just talk to their friends because at this point I'm so lost, I don't even care no more.
Right.
So I remember, I feel like it was one of my teacher friends that told me that. But in the end of the day, it's like, put that little 5 group of kids in a class that's right on their level instead of trying to cater to this third or whatever the number is.
Yeah.
And that increases your teacher skill. I mean, that ability to be a better teacher because you're catering to the ones that have the lower function, the lower level of functioning, and you're going over and you're trying to find techniques and strategies to boost them up to where the other people are at versus just catering to the ones that are higher up that you don't have to really do anything. So that makes you become, to me, lazy.
Yeah.
Because they're doing everything because those are the students who come to class, have their pencils, have their homework and all those things, and those kids that don't, you're just yelling and screaming at them and not understanding why they don't have the homework or understanding what can you do to help them get the homework. What strategies do we need to do homework in the classroom now instead of sending it home? Like,
because that Common Core, man, you gotta do that
child,
at home. You gotta do that at school.
You got to,
because I used to help my godson and goddaughter when my best friend would call me, be like, let's work on this word problem. And I'd be on the Google trying to figure it out. Like, it's so hard. I can't
home. The parents was asking us as the therapist coming inside of the home.
Yeah.
How do we do that? Like, that was a whole other conversation.
Child, when they put out them columns for that math, I was like, I wouldn't pass this math class. I don't know what y'all doing. You better pull your fingers out. Count 5 plus 5.
Oh, you have
6,
to show
7,
your
8, 9,
math.
10.
But I'm like, but I don't even know how to show math in Common Core.
Right.
Like, how you show the math with the circles and
let me tell you something. I had to do YouTube so many times with my kids' homework. I was like, hold on, we're gonna get it. Let me watch this video because I didn't know what was going on. It's not simple no more, and that's why the parents. I can't stress enough. Y'all gotta be involved. All right. Statistic number 5 says African American students are less likely to be college ready. In fact, 61% of ACT tested Black students in the 2015 high school graduating class met none of the 4 college readiness benchmarks, nearly twice the 31% rate for all students. That's sad.
Yeah.
Girl, my mama had me in all the preps. SAT prep. She had me in everybody prep. At the church, at this place. She said, you're going to be prepared.
Yeah.
To this day, I don't remember who my counselor was, but because my school was majority Black as well, we always had a recruiter for the Army there, and it was hardly ever anybody from a college. And when I decided that I wanted to go to college, they tried so hard to convince me that I needed to go to the Army first because I couldn't afford
Have they met
college.
you?
They hadn't. And I think that's what drove me. Like, I was the first generation college student in my family, so I think that's what drove me is them in that office. Like, you are the person who's supposed to be helping drive and educate me and help me aspire to be more, and you are telling me this is all I'm worth.
And my counselors, like, I did all my college stuff myself with, like, maybe a little bit of help, like asking my aunt or whatever here and there. But I did all my stuff myself. And when I went to them with my acceptance letter, they were like, oh, you got in there? And it's like, yes, I did. Yes. No thanks to any of you.
No scholarship, help, prep, none of that.
The blessing I had is that my mom, even though she had not gone to college at that time, she sat down just like Cici and was just like, I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out. And she helped me and she helped my cousin as well. like getting to school. And it was almost like she didn't know. She had never been through it, but she was just like, I'm going to learn for you. And so she put me in every prep. She used to print me off scholarship stuff. She had me in all these extracurriculars where I could earn scholarships because she knew I wasn't doing them essays. And like, I mean, I did end up having to do them, but like she helped me applications. She paid, and it was just like you have those parents who are just like Cici, and they're like, listen. I don't know, but I'm gonna help you. Like, I don't care what I gotta figure out. If I'm gonna get on YouTube, Google, if I gotta talk to whoever, we're gonna figure this out.
Right. And that stuff is important because it teaches your child by seeing you advocate for them how to advocate for themselves. Like whenever they get to college and they noticing things aren't right, you've already set the example for them that like, okay, a teacher's job is to help you, to educate you or whatever. And sometimes when they're not doing their job or they're unaware of something for whatever reason, now I know that I'm going to bridge that gap by standing up and sticking up and fighting for myself. So, because child, we didn't know. I can remember like my freshman year of high school, I had honors English and my grades, like I had an A in the class, but when I got my report card, I had a D. And I looked at my report card and I was like, I don't understand this. And I went and talked to my teacher and they didn't pay me no attention. And so then I said something to my aunt about it and she went to school and like she had a conversation with them and they changed my grade to what it was supposed to be. And then the next quarter, the same thing happened with my report card. And like if we didn't go up there and fight and advocate for that, it would have looked like I didn't do well in my English class. And that's like my best subject.
And I would say just thinking about that, like even down to parent-teacher conference, you can get them every so often during the year. Go to those conferences because they're showing you your children's work. You can talk right then about like, hey, something ain't right. I need help. We need to figure out some other ways because when you don't go, they really do, I think in my opinion, they assume that you don't care. And so they're just going to allow the child to do whatever. And then next thing you know, oh, my child didn't get passed. Well, you didn't go to none of the conferences.
Yeah.
You have to do it. Like,
and I've had teachers tell me that like whenever I have a parent that's very active and involved, I pay more attention to that child. If you don't care about your child's education, then sometimes those kids fall under the radar. And it sucks for somebody to even view it that way. But then at the same time, I mean, there's a lot of kids in that classroom. So, I mean, I guess I get it. It's just the whole system is, I mean, all systems could use a little bit of revision.
Right. All right, so Black students, this is fact number 6. Black students spend less time in the classroom due to discipline, which further hinders their access to a quality education. Black students are nearly 2 times as likely to be suspended without educational service as white students. Black students are also 3.8 times as likely to receive 1 or more out-of-school suspensions as white students. In addition, Black children represent 19% of the nation's preschool population, yet 47% of those receiving more than 1 out-of-school suspension. In comparison, white students represent 41% of preschool enrollment, but only 28% of those receiving more than 1 out-of-school suspension. Even more troubling, Black students are 2.3 times as likely to receive a referral to law enforcement or be subject to a school-related arrest as white students.
I see that
School to prison pipeline.
Yeah,
I definitely see that.
Yeah.
I want to say that I know when I was in Durham County, when they're suspended, they're not supposed to be suspended without those educational, like the work that they're going to have while they're out. And I think they're supposed to have the option of going to an alternative school while they're suspended. Yep. I think that is a law.
Yeah, one of my clients had that. He would get suspended 5 days once a month. And he would go back to his old middle school, and they would make him do his work there. Most of the time, he didn't do it.
And if your kids are constantly being suspended and they don't have a BIP in place,
behavior intervention plan,
go out there, or IEP, go out there and request for one in writing.
But then you also got to remember that some kids, like the client that I was just talking about, old client, he ain't had no parent. Child Protective Services was his guardian. And if you got 40, 50 kids on your caseload, some of these kids don't have legal parents.
Right.
I mean, they're a legal parent, but it's not like their parent. You know what I'm saying?
Invested involved.
And hopefully they're being connected to people like us who are advocating. Because, like, even though we're therapists, I know we go beyond that therapy office to advocate for the services for those kids in those educational systems.
And guardian ad litems, I mean,
bless them.
They really be out here like.
They really do.
You gonna get it, child. It's serious.
Well, sometimes.
Well, I had some good.
What's number 7?
Students of color are often concentrated in schools with fewer resources. Schools with 90% or more students of color spend $733 less per student per year than schools with 90% or more white students. So I think you spoke to that a little bit earlier about the resources within the school and not having them. Number 8, according to the Office of Civil Rights, 1.6 million students attend a school with a sworn law enforcement officer, but not a school counselor. In fact, the national student-to-counselor ratio is 491 to 1. However, the American School Counselor Association recommends a ratio of 250 to 1. So we know just here in Wake County alone, we see that there's not a consistent guidance counselor, or they have certain days because they're going to 15 student school.
But you try to commit suicide on the Tuesday. Guidance counselor ain't going to be there until Wednesday.
Right.
But yes.
And that's so unfortunate. I remember growing up having my guidance counselor every day. I mean, we had activities that we did with the guidance counselor all the way. I remember from elementary school on up. Like, we had programs, we had peer things that we were doing.
Shout out Miss Bridgers. Miss Rhonda Bridgers. We're friends on Facebook now. She was our middle school guidance counselor, and she was the one that made all the black girls join the volleyball team. She did. She's like, all of y'all are going to try out, and then we won a step team, and she was there the step team. Like, she was like, y'all not about to be out here doing nothing. And she put us on these teams, and she was just like, she pushed us, and whenever I had bad times, I would go in her office, and I remember feeling a connection, like, but she was also black, and she was an older woman.
Yeah.
I'm glad y'all had programs. I got a counselor. I guess they were just there. What are these programs y'all talking about?
I mean, I don't know, girl. But I also went to, sadly, I was bused across town. I didn't go to any like black schools. I went to integrate all white schools. So I went to a white middle school and high school and elementary school.
So further proving the statistic.
Yeah.
We sit over here like, y'all had all that?
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah.
I was surprised.
We only got it because we was at the white school. Trust and believe.
I was surprised it took us to Benedict College.
Lord.
We had to fight. I feel like we had to rally to go to that.
Wow.
Like, one time they said the bus wasn't sufficient enough to bus us because the Benedict bus came to take us to see it. And then we had to, like, protest. We protesting in the parking lot. Skip school. We just really skipped school. But it took
y'all protested to go to Benedict College. People protested for state of Duke, girl.
Because that's the college that was offering to come, give us scholarships, talk to us. So that was my first experience with an HBCU.
Oh, that's HBCU?
Yeah. Benedict College is an HBCU.
I never heard of school. Where is
It's
that?
in South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they came and they gave out scholarships just to get you out there. But we had a white principal at the time, and he wasn't trying to see you. He wasn't trying to see it happen.
He didn't even know what HBCU stand for.
You right.
What's number 8?
So our bus was ragged. Get on the bus.
All right, number 9. In 2015, the average reading score for white students on the National Assessment of Educational Progress 4th and 8th grade exam was 26 points higher than black students. Similar gaps are apparent in math. The 12th grade assessment also shown alarming disparities as well, with only 7% of black students performing at or above proficient on the math exam, compared to 32% white students.
I blame that on Common Core. Because I can't do it either. So
yeah,
I
don't really know why they do.
And it's really important. Teachers teach, but you can't just leave education in the classroom. Like, you've got to sit down and do homework with your kids. Or if you can't do homework with them, somebody got to do homework with them. So you're making sure that they are understanding these concepts. And if they're not, being able to go back to school and advocate for your child's educational needs.
Right. Yeah. Read with your kids. Read with your kids. I cannot stress that enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and I
read
used to
a
hate
book.
It. Like, I'll be honest with you. I think a little bit of why I did not like to read is because my sister used to read like all the time. My sister, like, shout out Dani, used to read, and it would piss me off because you would read like these big books like dictionaries, like Queen or Roots, and she'll read it in a day. And I'm just like, I can't go past. Well, what am I gonna do? I'm just gonna not read because I can't match that.
I can't live up to this.
Yeah, like she would read a book like Queen in a day and then like pass out because she was so dizzy. Like, yeah, all the words look the same after a while, don't they? Sheesh, just watch the movie like the rest of us.
Mm-mm.
But I was just like, well, I ain't reading nothing. My mom was like, what you gonna read? And I had to read.
It's important. It is so important.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the last one. There is a clear lack of Black representation in school personnel, according to a 2016 Department of Education report. In 2011 and 2012, only 10% of public school principals were Black, compared to 80% white. 82% of public school educators are white, compared to 18% teachers of color. In addition, Black male teachers only constitute 2% of the teaching workforce. So,
my middle school principal, Mr. Herndon, was Black. My high school principal is now the superintendent of Wake County Public Schools, and she's Hawaiian, if I'm not mistaken. She's Hispanic. So she's a minority. My middle school principal was my dad's principal, and my high school principal was my sister's principal. And matter of fact, she was the principal at Inlow, but maybe not around the same time. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest with you, those are the two principals that kept me out of trouble, and they were both minority. I'm not saying that's a coincidence, but it's a coincidence.
I remember in elementary school, I can't remember her whole name, but I want to say I don't remember her whole name, but she was the African American principal.
I know you're talking about skinny lady, yeah. Mm-hmm. I think her name was Lucille, wasn't it?
Maybe it is.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah. I remember her. She was so sweet.
She was sweet. She was sweet.
I had quite a few culturally competent Caucasian teachers. It was nice. It was nice.
I had Miss Mayo in the 6th grade. That was it.
Mm-hmm. You had some good teachers.
She was in the wheelchair.
And I realized that there are a lot of more African American teachers coming up and doing all kinds of cool things. I just can't stress enough, like, if that's something that you want to do, be a teacher. It's okay to be a teacher. Like, go for it. We need that representation. It's so important.
And especially people who are willing to, really pay attention to not only the requirements of your job, but paying attention to the students that are in your classroom and what their needs may be. Because realistically, we can say advocate for your kids, do this and do that, but some parents it's just not in their wheelhouse, or they don't know how to do that or whatever. So if you're a person who wants to be an educator and your heart is in the right place, go on out here and teach these babies, because they need somebody.
Mm-hmm. There was a thing going around social media not too long ago of a teacher who went above and beyond, who was babysitting the girl's baby while she was out there trying to get a job. Like, she was going outside of the classroom to help this person out. So
you think about back in the day, it took the whole village to raise a child. Like, the teachers, it was such a community feel when it came to schools, and that's really missing now.
I was about to say, it ain't the fact that it ain't still needed.
Yeah.
It's just missing, like you said.
Yeah, because Miss Perkins, my 4th grade teacher, knew my grandma. And anytime I did something, she'd be like, I'm about to call your grandma, right? And that scared the life out of me. But you don't get those teachers anymore. They're young. They don't know nobody in your family. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them being young, but then they also don't understand, like, a lot of these kids who are disruptive or asleep or this, they got stuff going on at home. And their number one priority right now may not be their education. And you can't say, oh, he's a troublemaker. You have to look at the root of the issue. He's not a troublemaker. He's got this going on at home and that going on at home. You just got to understand that every kid's not going to come in fed, clothed, properly. Kids heard their parents yelling or mom went to jail. Like, everybody's life is just not the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're expecting you to come into school and be this perfect student, and that's not realistic.
And I think that's why I wanna like start a campaign to go into these schools and educate the teachers, because they don't know these things, and they're thinking that all their job is to teach, so they don't know that they can collaborate with the school counselors to get some additional techniques for their classrooms and things like that, because the counselor ain't there but one day of the week because they ain't got no time.
Counselor got 3 schools.
Right. So, but mental health isn't taught to the teachers, and honestly, I think it should be a course now added as they're coming through school, because it's important. If the mind if the mental state isn't in a place to learn, you're not going to get a stable child in your classroom.
Right.
Yeah, and even like I could think about, there are kids who are in school and they're not underperforming in school, but they still have a lot of stuff going on with them too. Like my grades have never been bad ever, and you know my teachers, if you talk to them, they probably would say, "Oh, she was a great student." Da da da. It was like I had all kinds of stuff going on, like flying under the radar, and so it's good when you have teachers that are paying attention and they can notice stuff. Like there was a period of time where my grades went from being like all A's and B's to like B's, C's. And that wasn't, nobody really paid any attention to it because I was in a big school and they didn't know me from anything. But I think possibly if I would have been back home and my grades slipped, then they would have been like, oh, Sasha's been making these kinds of grades this whole time. Why is she now all of a sudden just an average student? But sometimes when you're in big schools,
you get missed. As long as you're not a problem child, you normally don't get that attention that's needed.
And think about our kids that are in foster care. If we don't advocate for them, they don't really have anybody at school. If they didn't have us as their, as their therapist, as a person that's going to listen to them, they didn't really have any other support. So it's important for kids to have someone at school that they can talk to and they can trust.
Well, that's all I got.
Thanks for that. That's good. Well needed.
Well, all right. So today in the Sister Circle, I just wanted to ask y'all some questions about your school experience, what school was like for you.
Trash.
Oh, God.
Trash.
So my first question is, tell me about your favorite teacher.
Oh, gosh. That's such a long time ago.
I'll go first. So my favorite teacher probably was like my high school English teacher. Her name was Miss Bell, and Miss Bell was bomb. Like she was an amazing English teacher. She really cared about what she taught, and she made sure that like we knew our vocab words. She knew that we knew our grammar. She had us reading books. She was making sure she had authors of books come in and talk to us, which was like a big deal coming from like a little back home place where we were from. She used to bake us things and stuff like that. Like she was just a really nurturing, kind old white lady that really took us under her wing, made sure that I was great in English. And when I took my SAT, my English score was like damn near perfect because of Miss Bell. So shouts out to her.
You know, I remember in middle school, I had 2 teachers. It was Mr. Maloney. It was Mr. Maloney first. He was my 6th grade science teacher. First of all, I had a crush on him, so that's that. But I love Mr. Maloney. Oh my God. He was just like, he was also the football coach and all that stuff. He was just cool, like a cool guy. He made everything fun. I just remember learning. Everything was fun in there. And then fast forward, his now wife came to the school, Mrs. Maloney. She was my 8th grade math teacher and also my cheerleading coach. And she was, I didn't like her at first because she was like talking to Mr. Maloney and everything like that, and they got married and I had a little beef. But but she was really cool. Like she was down to earth. Both of them have real down to earth spirits and they were not above. So sometimes we'd be together and it'd feel like a close friend because they were younger teachers. But I will never forget them. They are my Facebook friends, and I don't know. I will always remember them. I remember we did a back roll, and Miss Maloney didn't know how to back roll. She was of the other persuasion, and bless her heart. Okay.
I got a lot of fave teachers, but I'm gonna just choose one, I guess. That gave me fun and substance, I guess, all in one, was our varsity basketball coach, Moss. That's his name, Coach Moss. Because he was very hard on everyone as a whole. So he always had, like, we laugh about it. We had current events. He was a history teacher. So we were majority black, and that was the first experience that a teacher made us really do work. And he wasn't slacking up on it. Like, you got that fun teacher, but it's like, I'm still going to give you that test on Friday. It don't matter if you didn't study or you didn't get your current event. It's a 0, but we're going to laugh in 5 minutes after this section is over. So, or if you were acting up in the classroom, his thing was he didn't write you up. He didn't send you to the office. He put you outside in the hallway if you was a guy and you did 15 push-ups in front of the class. And so I think that was pretty cool because it was a different way of managing your classroom, and we still got the information. Like fun and like you got substance out of it. The rest of my history classes, that was all right, but probably no. One of my history teachers was my cheerleading coach, and I swear we didn't learn a thing. We only learned when they came and did the principal came to monitor the classroom, and everybody kept asking questions like, "But when we learn." We always used to like roll the TV in and watch movies. Like,
because the teacher would not have high school. The teachers were always on their best behavior when they had a monitor. Like, y'all better not do nothing.
It's like we was trying to learn. You was trying to teach. We was trying to get this information. We was trying to get this knowledge.
My teacher, and I call her Miss Mayo. Her name was Miss Maynard. I just thought of that a couple minutes ago. I was thinking about Doug. But, so my 6th grade English teacher, Miss Maynard, she was in a wheelchair. She was an older white lady. She was in a wheelchair. And the one thing I remember the most about her is that she was real Southern. So she had that, like, come on here, sweetheart. She just had one of those Southern, like, sweetheart personalities. She was like a mother figure more than a teacher. She wasn't like, she understood you. And I think she understood that, like, I was like very much like loud and boisterous, and she didn't get threatened by that. And like, oh, you gotta get out of my class, or because I've turned a lot of teachers off. But the one thing she would do is she would bring me closer to her instead of pushing me away. And I remember a couple times I used to eat lunch in her class, and she would be like, "You gonna eat lunch with me today?" And I was like, "I don't want to eat lunch with y'all." But I would eat lunch with her, and she would tell me stuff like, all you gotta do is this, or all you gotta do is that, or you really do is this. And I think what happened was between the mother instinct that she had and that Southern charm, and then her ability to pull me in instead of seeing it as like, I don't want to have to deal with you. That's what got me with her. I wonder if she's still alive.
So next question.
She was old back then.
What kind of student were you in school? Like, what were you guys like?
Studious. I was the nerd at school. Like, that's what I was. I was in my classes. I was that kid who was in between both worlds. Like, I was smart when I got to school. I did my work. I made good grades. I was always quiet, never in trouble, that kind of thing, because I don't know my mama. So I was always on point. Yet I could dibble and dabble in the world where all the cool kids were and still hang out. People respected me enough to be like, you smart. I dig that. You still cool. That was me.
I was bad, but I think y'all already knew that.
You still
in
bad.
In the 8th grade, I hope y'all heard my eye roll. In the 8th grade, I was
Nah, 'cause you can't hear
voted
that.
best sense of humor. But by the 12th grade, I got voted class clown. Now, I came home excited. I remember my grandmother and my mama was sitting on the bed or doing something in the room.
This is a sidebar. What were you like in school? Don't tell us your class clown story.
No, I was about to tell you.
These two right here.
Right. If you don't get what I need to say
ago.
Okay.
It was her telling Sasha stop minding her business. Right. Now.
So back to what I was saying. So I remember being so excited to be class clown and like showing my mom that superlative because it was in the yearbook. And the whole time, my mom was just like, "You're excited about this?" And I was like, "Dang, because she was extremely disappointed. She was just like, "You spent all that time in class, and that's what you got." Yeah. She said, "You didn't get most likely to succeed or nothing positive. You got class clown, like, and that's what you're happy about." And I was like, "Well, fuck." But I think my issue was that I don't really know what the hell my issue was. I had a sense of humor and I always liked to talk. Those two things together were not good. The weird thing about it is I was in these advanced classes with white people, and I was always the only white people. It was only white people, and I feel like the only way I could like fit in is by making them laugh. That's the only thing I had. We had no other similarities. These are white people living in North Raleigh in nice houses, and I'm living in the hood in South Raleigh, and I'm getting bussed across town. I have no common anything with you all. So in my mind, I had to make y'all laugh. I had to find a way for you all to like me, and that just so happened to stick. And that's what I took. Sad, but... And that's why I'm like I am now. So shut your ass.
Mine is similar to yours, Dani.
See?
Well, I
I
wasn't class clown, but I was a clown. Probably was close to being class clown. But jokes came from a very hurt place for me, like having to fit in and stuff like that. So that was me. I was talkative and I was joking a lot in school, but I was also like you, Cici. I always got my work done because once again, you don't know my mama either. So I didn't get in trouble after third grade. Just a few before third grade, there were some bus whippings from the bus stop, but that's another story, I guess. But I guess I was that jokester all the time because I didn't want people to laugh at me, so I found myself having to make people laugh. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. That was a sore spot right there, Sasha. So move to the next.
Answer, yeah. Well, Cici, I was like you. So, I've always liked school. I've always liked learning. So, I wasn't a kid that my mama didn't have to... I didn't have to come home from school. My mama didn't have to tell me to do my homework. I came home from school and I did my homework. I played school in my downtime. Like I really like I played school. I really like school. I buy my own workbooks and do my own practice. Do my own practice problems and whatever. Like I just like to learn. I used to read a lot, all that stuff. I definitely was a nerd, but I was also like a very cool kid. Like it wasn't like I was a popular kid and also a nerd up until middle school. Middle school was a bad time for me. But in middle school, I just fell under the radar. Well, that's a whole nother story. But for me, I went from like where I grew up to like this area. And so I went from being in a predominantly black environment to a white environment on top of everything. So I was like adjusting to life in middle school. So I was just like quiet and kind of to myself, but still kind of about school. But then back in high school, I got back on my shit. So overall, I was like studious. High school, it more so was, I wasn't like doing the whole workbook stuff no more. It was like, I do my homework in class and then I'm at home just like hanging out with my friends or like going to cheerleading practice or something like that. Like, but yeah, it was like school has always been where I've excelled and like just been my kind of cool, happy place. So yeah. Were you guys involved in any sports or clubs in school?
Yes, girl. Many people say it's not a sport, but in my mind and my eyes, it was.
Because it was.
I was a cheerleader.
Yes.
Captain of the cheerleading squad.
Okay.
Like, high school was my prime. Middle school, like you said, that was a hard not life. But high school, that was my prime, and I excelled. Yeah. But that was my only extracurricular activity.
What's that? What did you do besides cheer, Cici?
I was in band. I was in band in middle school. Yeah. I was a cheerleader. I'm pretty sure I joined several clubs in high school. I don't remember all of them. I can't remember. But yeah. So I did some stuff though.
It's been a grip. What'd you do, Bozo?
I was no one's cheerleader.
Oh, okay.
But I was on the step team because I did black people things. And
First of all,
What?
we were black
because at
cheerleaders.
our
We didn't stunt.
school, there was only the 2 black cheerleaders. You could only have 2.
What?
That was the max.
Oh, wow.
It was just 2 black cheerleaders. All 4 years, too. I think it was the same 2 girls. but I was on the step team. I did student government. I was on committees for like homecoming, prom. I did clubs after school. I did a Spanish club after school. I did a lot of Spanish. And volleyball in middle school because Miss Bridgers, my guidance counselor, made us. That was it.
What's up? So I didn't start cheering until my junior year. So I did cheer for 2 years. I was on the track team for 1 year, but I mostly didn't run. I mostly like faked injuries or my ankle was always twisted, stuff like that. Because, okay, first of all of my friends were sprinters, and I'm not a sprinter. Like, I'm more of a distance runner. And so I would always feel really sad when we would have to do, like, sprints because I knew I was going to lose. So I would be, like, limping somewhere.
So it probably started at the beginning of the day.
Nah, it started at the track meet. But I was on the track team mostly because all my friends were on the track team. So it was like, I'm going to do track for this 1 year. But I only did it that 1 year. And then
Real trash.
hey, that's what it is. And then I did clubs, so like National Honor Society and like FCCLA and gosh, we were making up clubs. Like my senior year, we made up like a spirit committee because we just wanted to get out of class, and so we would just be like putting together stuff for like pep rallies and stuff, just making up stuff to just be involved. We would like decorate doors and just have school spirit. It was great. It was wonderful. So I was very involved in a lot of things in high school.
I was on yearbook.
Shout out to the Oreo trio. We were 3 captains on our 2 black girls, 1 white girl. The Oreo trio.
Oh, shout out to CSNA.
Shout out to the flute.
You'll have to play it for us sometime.
Well, I still got it, girl. I still got it.
You playing your flute, girl?
I put it together.
You be the Pied Piper. What would you say was your biggest challenge at school?
Mine would be fitting in. And I think a lot of it is because, like, I wanted to be with my black friends from my neighborhood that I rode the bus with, but I couldn't be in their class. And I think they saw me as, like, the uppity to-do black girl because I was in class with white people. But then on the flip side, I couldn't fit in with the white kids because, they were white. And we didn't have much in common because I'm this, like, this chick from the South Side. Like, I never felt, and that's one of the things that actually came back around to be a beneficial thing, because I was in so many different types of groups, like the step team, but then also the yearbook or the SGA. Like, I was in so many different things that everybody knew me. And it wasn't just I was the black girl and I ended up not being just the friend of the white chick. I ended up being like everybody's friend because but I didn't see it then. I always felt like I didn't fit in. Like when I told y'all in 11th, 12th grade, I was like, I want to go to shop because I want to be with my friends because I don't fit in over here. But then if I would have went to shop, I wouldn't have fit in with them because they would have saw me as somebody that was going to these sedity class, you know. So I think fitting in was mine.
I would say that would be mine too because I remember middle school, even though I could carouse around so many different groups, there was always at school there was like, you know, black people and then there was like the black people, like, you know, I mean, that's how it was, and the black people was the ones that I got bullied by. I just had a memory.
But that's when I started learning how to joke. Because, like, if y'all notice, I'm very quick on my feet. When I first started getting bullied, and it didn't last long, but when I first started getting bullied, it was because I had glasses. So I had them back on big, thick glasses. And I used to get bullied, and I remember, like, ain't nobody gonna cry for you for getting bullied. You better go back at them. And I used to go at people. Like, your mama fat and ugly, shut up. And, like, going at people, and nobody bullied me after that. So I guess my quick wit came from that as well. But
I didn't have I was out here being the emotional person that I am today.
Sitting back in the bus like, hey, never like this in my life again.
But you know what?
Punches air.
It was but I think with those challenges, it was always, this is my life, like I always found a group of friends who would be like, you know what? Don't worry about it.
I know.
I'll be like, oh, okay. So I never, you know, I've had a good group of people around me. Help me.
You got real solemn at the end. Like, I mean, life has been good to me.
It's a sore spot too.
This is a very hard topic. Because school was my safe place, but school was also a hurtful place, if that makes sense.
Go ahead and speak fiercely.
But going back to Dani's topic, she said she learned to joke a lot. I learned to joke a lot, but I didn't learn to joke on other people. I learned to joke on myself. So I always put the joke on myself and put like the spotlight on myself before somebody else could. So I was always the butt of the joke because I made myself the butt of the joke laugh for a lot of the time. So that didn't do well with my self-confidence. Now, hell. But after a while,
that's a little deep.
No. My middle school life goes a little deep. I got bullied because of one, glasses. I didn't wear my glasses until I was like batshit blind. But and that was college.
I used to have mine on
that
the
was
playground.
college.
There's probably like 45 pair of glasses on that. I'm lying to you.
I had glasses and braces.
And that was because I was bullied so bad about my glasses, as well as like I used to have like the triple dot on my forehead, and it was acne, and everybody used to call me dirty.
So you an Indian?
Shut up.
I got so confused. Like, what is a triple dot?
But it was just a set of acne on my forehead, and that's why.
What do you mean a set of acne?
Listen,
I don't get what you're
saying. Was just in one spot.
So you just said,
one spot,
okay.
And it was this boy. We're actually friends now, and it's probably that's another story. But anyways, that's a part of my assimilation story. But anyways, like he used to always like call me in front of the classroom dirty and all those things.
Because you had 3 pieces of acne?
Because I had acne on my face. So yeah, that's why I take great pride in my face. Like when my face breaks out, I think it's the end of the world. And I'm getting over it now. Look at me, 28, and still have residuals.
Let me tell you something. You should just call his mama fat and move on.
Not if I can go back, and I had Dani as my friend.
Okay. Yeah, I would shoot the death or for you.
In my ninth grade, like I said, my 9th through my 12th grade, like I was sitting into a whole new crowd, and I had a whole new set of best friends and stuff from like East Arcadia. Shout out to East Arcadia. But they took me in, man, and they taught me how to be a Dani. They taught me how to like really like come back with the comeback.
I used to try to make people cry. That was my goal. If I'm going to roast you, I'm roasting everybody in your family, including your blind eyes.
They taught me how to lie with a straight face. They taught me how to do a lot of things.
I don't know about that last one. That's a little tough.
Lie with a straight face? I can lie with a straight face. Should have been a little.
That awkward moment. Like,
Alright.
It's okay.
I think you've taken Sasha's sociopath.
first of all,
Oh, you didn't hear me call you
sociopath.
sociopath?
I did, but I just let it glaze over because I was like, what else? So I think my biggest issue in school was that I felt very misunderstood, maybe. Like, I felt like everybody had a perception of me, but nobody like really knew who the hell I was.
Did you know who you were?
I think I was figuring it out, but I think
maybe they were just as confused as you were.
No, I just think because people saw me. Okay, so I was a smart girl, so it was like, all right, well, she's in all these smart classes, so like I was always perceived as like bougie and uppity, and it was like, I'm none of those things.
You're real rich.
Cannot, but I wasn't those things. But they assumed that was the general assumption, is like she thinks she's better than people, or it was always like because people thought that I was pretty and like a lot of people liked me, then it was a general assumption that like I was fast and stuff like that. So it was like people always were attaching things to me that had absolutely nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with them, which made me confused about who I was, because it was like people are just looking at me and they got a whole bunch of stuff to say. Or I wasn't always in drama, but like anytime I was in drama, the drama generally had nothing to do with me. It had something to do with somebody else's assumption about something. My best friend, shout out to her, was always in some shit. So vicariously, because she was in some drama, I was her best friend, I had to be a part of the drama too. So she was talking to somebody's boyfriend, the whole crew hate the whole crew because we all got to stick together. Or it was just, I don't know. I just felt like I didn't really have an identity of my own. I was just always whatever everybody else wanted me to be. And I was just trying to mind my own business and just, chill out, do my own thing. So that was my high school. But I would say it was a fun time, all in all.
I'm excited for my reunion.
Last question. When it comes to school, would you say that there was anything that you needed as far as like maybe advocacy or as far as connections or support from school that you didn't get?
Just from school, or just from just in general, to make my educational experience a little bit better?
In general, to make your educational experience better.
I would say I needed that parent that Cici was talking about in the beginning. Like, my mom wasn't a bad parent, but she was the parent that believed everything the teacher said and not investigate for herself to make sure that, because there was some truth to my story and there was some truth to the teacher's story, and she never went that extra mile to actually, it was always my fault.
Yeah.
And I was always wrong. So, and I think I would probably have done better with more mentors. Like, we didn't have a lot of mentors in school. The ones we did have was like teachers that went the extra mile and things like that, but nobody specifically connected to learn about me, teach me about myself and things like that. So I think that would have been a lot more helpful, as well as a lot more exposure to the resources of higher education. I think would have been beneficial for me growing up. And not just for me, just I'm one of the ones that made it out. But there's so many of us that didn't even know that there was a such thing as financial aid and FAFSA and all those things. So a lot more advocacy around higher education, I think.
I would agree. I definitely would have wanted more advocacy and support when it came to like academics. And I think the other thing that would have been really helpful for me is if I could go back and do anything different, I think I would have really, in high school, I would have studied more and I would have actually attempted to learn information long term, not just like learn something for a test. Because when I got to college, that would have been a lot more benefit. If I would have actually learned those things, it would have made college easier for me. Or if I would have established study habits, then it would have helped me in college, because high school was so easy for me that it was like homework. Okay, that's a breeze.
15 minutes before the test, you can study and boom.
Or I didn't study for anything, because it was like I sit in class, I learn this for whatever, and then I just go and do my own thing. It wasn't challenging for me at all. So when I got to college and I had to like know stuff, I was like, Jesus, take the whole wheel.
You don't know how much you don't know until you go to college.
Shit. I mean, I had to change my whole career path.
I was in special education my freshman year of college. Most of the people that came from my high school had to take like a prereq math or a prereq reading. So we was in one or the other. Like, so we laughing with each other like, hey, what did Miss Wilton teach us? Or like, what did whatchamacallit teach us in class? Because
you went to slow class in college?
Listen.
I didn't think they had them.
I was in the slow English. They were in the slow math. And we was like, but we were in honors English in school. And then we realized that they didn't really teach us how to really structure a paragraph.
Oh, wow.
Effectively. Wow. So, like those standards, their lesson. I had one hardcore teacher, but that was because she was a professor at Fayetteville State too. So she was black, and that was the only hardcore English teacher that I had, and that was my senior year. So that's 3 years of English that they just slid us on through. Read this one book for the whole semester and write this one book report, and as long as you make sense, you're gonna get 100.
Oh, dang.
I mean,
you shut your high school down.
You probably do, because the standards aren't there. They don't have a high expectation on us.
You said it was predominantly black?
And it's because she said they didn't bring colleges in, they brought Army recruiters.
Yeah.
When people aren't expecting you to perform or do a certain thing, that's what you do. It's very different from like, I've had both experiences. I went to school in Wade County and I went to school in like Eastern North Carolina. And it was two different experiences. It was night and day. But I'm grateful for coming to Wade County for like that 4 year time span, because it helped me when I went to college. Like other kids that graduated from my high school and went to state, or were from my area and went to state, they were struggling. And because I had that little bit of resilience from like transitioning in middle school to this system and doing something different, it helped me to navigate it when I had to do it again in college. But
I don't know if there's anything that I needed, which sounds bad.
It's actually good.
I mean, it sounds bad. I ain't got no story, but
you done told 75 stories.
Yes, I want to tell another 70 stories.
It's okay if you ain't got
work
no
on
story.
this fit-in thing.
Right. Yeah, I really do. The urge to fit in is still on me.
It's validation.
But no, the one thing I will say is like, I didn't have anybody at school that really was there to support me. But I didn't need that person because I had that in my mom.
Right.
Like when I was cutting up in school, my mama would be at these parent-teacher conferences. I remember Miss Blackwell, my 12th grade math teacher, and she tried to fail me my senior year, and I needed that math. And that's when we went to block scheduling in Wake County, and I wasn't functioning well. Because I went to block scheduling my senior year. To go from like 50-minute classes to an hour and a half, and the math class was a split class, so we went in for 45 minutes, went to lunch, and then came back. I got diets. I ain't learned nothing after lunch. Like, it is what it is. And she really didn't. I can look back on it now and realize that Miss Blackwell tried to push me because she put me in the front of the class. She kept me away from my friends. She was hard on me. And I remember telling my mom, like, I can't stand her. And my mom, you know, she would talk about me like I wasn't going to college, and she would just talk down on me. But the one thing that I always had was my mom. And my mom, no matter how hard things were, she always showed me, despite the fact that they may not think you're going anywhere, despite the fact that, you know, whatever is going on in your life, like, you don't need to worry about them. So even if the people at school weren't helpful, because they weren't, my mom was, and she was school and she was at home. So I think that's the one thing that I can look back on and I can say, despite the fact that I didn't notice how bad school was, because my mom was there. So shout out, Mom.
Shout out. We still wait on you to come to.
Right.
I'm just trying to sit in the living room and be like, can you tell me about
Right.
But I will say one thing though, working in this system, I can see so many flaws in how these kids are treated. You have a lot of kids, like I was saying earlier, that have these behavioral issues, but it's not because they came out of the womb and they were meant to F up your classroom. They came out of the womb and under horrible circumstances.
Yeah.
And they don't have anyone to advocate. And instead of pushing them out of the classroom, be like Miss Maynard and push the child closer to you. They need someone. They need that support. They don't need someone that's going to be like, oh, well, you know, you can't learn, or you can't learn as good as them, or you ain't going to be nothing, or you never will be anything. You need someone that's going to be like, hey, listen, I don't know what you're going through, and that ain't none of my business unless you want to tell me. But you have to be mindful of the fact that you are someone. And always tell that child that. And I just feel like if we have more teachers that were of our own ethnic background, that knew where we were coming from, it would be easier. Like the statistics show, we don't have that. I had 3 black teachers, Miss Blackwell, Miss Israel, who was a substitute teacher, Miss Perkins, my 4th grade teacher. Those were the only 3 black teachers I ever had. That's why I went to HBCU. I was like, oh, I ain't never had no black.
That's why I didn't go to a HBCU, because I said, I'm sick of niggas. Where the whites at? I'm tired of seeing all of the folks I don't want to do. Don't see no more black folks.
Because I was in all white schools, all underclasses, and I saw nobody that looked like me. And I found out they had HBCUs where it was everybody that looked like me. And going to HBCU is like the best because you feel like it's a family and people actually give them.
It seemed like it would have been fun for undergrad.
It was amazing. I had teachers that would send me an email like, "Where were you not in class?"
See, and y'all, I had that opposite. I did the HBCU for grad, and I feel like that's the ultimate trap. If you're gonna do both, you need to do the HBCU first, because you can't go to a PWI and then backtrack to a HBCU. Because I'm gonna tell you what, Central is a wonderful academy.
Don't you try it?
It's a wonderful academy.
Academy?
Yeah.
Institution?
Yes.
You better put some respect on that.
I respect it. They gave me my whole degree, the one that I use all the time. But I will say that in grad school, I was highly frustrated at the systems and processes, because I was like,
you wouldn't understand.
That's what I'm saying. So
we was already prone to it.
That's your fault.
I fully understand that it is my fault because I did this whole situation backwards.
You need to apologize.
Because when I came, no ma'am, when I came there and they were like, you will not get your refund check until September. And I was like, first of all, bitch, I started class 3 weeks ago. Yeah, because that's my monties. I started class 3 weeks ago. What you mean I'm not going to get my money until 3 weeks from now?
But it's your fault, because why were you depending on that refund check?
Hey, listen.
That's why you got
you got to get booked.
Okay. What are you doing with the money?
You should have worked.
When I was at my PWI, I got my refund check 3 days before classes started.
Listen,
I was like,
that's why
what's
my
this?
experience was D-bomb. At the HBCU, I was always a little testy at the financial aid system. But in the flip side of it, when I went to that PWI and they gave me my monies on time, early, didn't have to get no book voucher.
And that's why y'all maxed y'all daggone student loans out. That's your fault.
It's okay.
I maxed my student loans out in grade school.
I maxed them out in grade school. I had a lot of scholarships in undergrad.
I had scholarships and grants in undergrad.
Yeah, in undergrad.
Well, the grace of my mother, because I can't say the grace of God and my mama. I graduated undergrad with nothing. I had no student loan, no financial aid, no nothing.
That's a blessing.
It's a blessing. Yeah. But I will say one thing. The one thing I do think is a lot of the kids a lot of the young adults who went to HBCUs, I think when people say, oh, well, PWIs are predominantly white institutions, like, oh, you know, people look at you more, look at you better, they pick you out because of the school. I think that's slowly changing too, because, I mean, a lot of the people who are from HBCUs are extremely successful.
Shout out to our social work program. I think we're like number 2 in the state for like being hired right after undergrad. You know, but like you said, it is slow. It's changing quickly.
Yeah,
actually,
like Central's law school is ranked the top in the nation.
I was like, actually, WSSU got the top nursing program.
Yeah, so it's just like go to HBCU so you can feel family, but that's nothing you need to hear that.
First of all, but don't. This is a whole conversation for another episode. But don't do PWIs because I will say I don't know about you, Cici, but at my PWI, I did have community and I did have family, and there were
Black student movement.
Okay, and shout out to African American Cultural Center and our African American Symposium and things like that. Like I could say I went to a PWI, but all my friends was black.
That's because all y'all only hung out with each other. Problem.
No.
Segregation.
No. All of my close friends were black. I still had friends that were white. I still did things with white people and stuff like that. Won't know I'm trying to be othered, but I will say I had a very black experience for me to be going to a school that had 33,000 people and like 3,000 of them was black.
I'm a Tar Heel for life.
And F all that because I'm a part of the wolf pack for my whole life. Thank you guys for school. I was about to say, don't make me dislike you right now. Thank you guys for participating in the Sister Circle. I hope you guys learned some interesting things about our school experiences, and I hope this motivates you if you have children or if you have children that you know to go ahead and start asking questions about their education and trying to advocate for them and teaching them to advocate for themselves.
Yeah.
What you sprinkling us with?
Go with God.
Amen.
Keep him at the front center.
Okay, you better come through with the vocals.
Childish.
Okay.
Listen, that's my last thing because I'm just so passionate about this subject. Go schedule a parent-teacher conference. Go now. Do it.
It's the beginning of the school year. Let's try to make this one the best for your child.
Learn your
They
teachers.
are our future. So make sure these babies know things so that they're not out here like the Trump supporters.
Jordans than an A. Throw that in there.
And get a few Nikes. Because believe in something.
Let me tell you something. Your kids go to school fresh to death and guess what? They ain't learning nothing.
Make sure they know things so they ain't like the Trump supporters. Yeah. They need to know where Nebraska is.
I'm not really sure if I know where Nebraska is, to be honest with you.
So
like if you give me a black map, I think it's at the top.
Yeah, on that side.
Well,
I'm going to close on this note. Believe in something. Even if that means sacrificing everything. Just do it.
Amen.
Just do it. Go out and buy you some Nikes.
R.I.P. Mac Miller.
Thank you for listening today. I'm glad you all enjoyed. Please follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter under Four Sisters Podcast. Also, if you would like to send us listener letters, you can send it to foursisterspodcast@gmail.com. If you like it, please listen to us on YouTube, Spreaker, iTunes, SoundCloud,
iHeartRadio.
Like, comment, share, etc. And thank you for continuing to listen to us.
Bye.
Be blessed.
Bye.